So previously we have seen the basics of an op-amp. We have seen concept of what is an op-amp, its characteristics, ideal characteristics, practical characteristics. We have seen its block diagram, internal block diagram, and we had seen some of the parameters like differential gain, common mode gain. We have seen its two input modes, differential mode and common mode, right? So differential gain, common mode gain. We have also seen common mode rejection ratio, right? So it's the ratio of open loop voltage gain to the common mode gain. Since it's a large value, we express that CMRR in decibels. There are some other parameters along with this. What we have is maximum output voltage swing. Maximum output voltage swing, it is V naught peak to peak. It is the swing from the lower peak to upper peak. That's why we call it peak to peak output voltage or maximum output voltage swing. So whenever you do not connect any input signal, ideally the output of an op-amp has to be 0, right? Because an amplifier basically amplifies whatever you give at the input. If the input is 0, the output has to be 0, ideally, right? So that's called the quiescent output voltage. So when you apply an input signal, then the ideal limits of peak to peak output signal are within a certain limit that is defined by its power supply, plus or minus VCC. Right. So the power supply that you give to an op-amp is, there are two power supplies, one is positive plus VCC, another one is negative minus VEE. So the maximum swing that the output can have is limited by this particular power supply. In the positive it is plus VCC, in the negative it is minus VEE. Since the magnitudes are the same of VCC and VEE, you can say it is plus or minus VCC. So that's the maximum limit that the output voltage can swing. But practically, this will not be achieved. I mean, it will not go till that plus or minus VCC. It will try to go near to that particular value. In practically, however, this ideal value can be approached, but it can never be reached. And this output voltage swing, it varies with the load connected to the op-amp. Okay, so you connect a load resistance at the output, and it increases directly with the load resistance. The output voltage is proportional to the load resistance, directly proportional. So if load resistance is higher, the swing is higher. If the load resistance is lower, the swing is lower. Next parameter we have is the input offset voltage. So as I have been saying, an ideal op-amp produces 0 volts at the output if you give 0 volts at the input, right? So if the input is 0, the output is 0. But practically, even when you do not connect any input, or even when both the input terminals are connected at the same potential, there is a small DC voltage which will appear at the output. So that voltage we have called, it is offset voltage. It is offset voltage. So even when you do not connect any input, you get some output. That is the offset voltage. So to nullify the effect of that offset voltage, you have to connect some voltage at the input. So that's called the input offset voltage. Okay, input offset voltage, VOS. So that's the differential voltage that you have to give at the input to force the output to 0. So when you have not connected an input, the output has to be 0. Okay, but there will be some small output voltage. To nullify that, you have to connect this input offset voltage to force the output to 0. So the typical values of this input offset voltage, it is very small, in range of some millivolts, 2 millivolts or lesser than that. Ideally, there should be no offset voltage. So ideally, input offset voltage is 0 volts. Similar to this input offset voltage, there is input offset current. So ideally, when the two bias currents are equal, when the two input bias currents are equal, two bias currents means I1 and I2, that is the currents into the two input terminals, inverting and non-inverting terminals. So when they both are equal, the difference is 0. That is I1 minus I2 will be 0. So in the ideal case, both the input bias currents are equal, and that's why their difference is 0. So but practically the bias currents are not exactly equal. Okay, there will be some difference, and that difference between the two bias currents is called the offset current, right? The input offset current is the difference of the two input bias currents. So that's an absolute value you take. Okay, if I1 is greater than I2 or I2 is greater than I1, it doesn't matter. The difference or the absolute value is considered as the offset current. Next parameter is input bias current. So there are two bias currents actually, I1 and I2. The input bias current means it's the average of these two currents. average of two input currents, I1 and I2. I1 plus I2 divided by 2. That will be the average of two input currents. That will be the input bias current. Right? So I1 is the current at the inverting input, I2 is the current at the non-inverting input. I bias or bias current is average of these two. So it's the DC current required by the inputs of the amplifier to properly operate the first stage. Right? Next you have impedance. Since we have seen there are two modes of operation, differential mode and common mode. So there are two ways of measuring the impedance. So in differential mode, we call it differential input impedance. So that's the total resistance between the inverting and non-inverting inputs. Okay, it's the total. This is the inverting input. This is the non-inverting input. The resistance in between the inverting and non-inverting input, or the impedance between inverting and non-inverting input, is the differential input impedance, Z in D, differential input impedance, right? So it is measured by determining change in the bias current for a given change in differential input voltage. Change in the bias current for given change in differential input voltage. Whereas common mode, in common mode we have common mode input impedance. So in common mode we are connecting equal voltages in both the input terminals, right? So there the common mode input impedance is the resistance between each input and the ground. So at the center, of this, there is we connect a ground. It is the impedance between each input and the ground. So both of them is common mode input impedance. So this is common mode input impedance. So it is measured by determining change in the bias current for a given change in common mode input voltage. Okay. So for differential input impedance, it is change in the bias current for the change in differential input voltage. For common mode input impedance, it is change in the bias current for the change in common mode input. Next, you have the output impedance. Output impedance is the impedance as seen from the output terminal. Okay, so it's the resistance viewed from the output terminal, impedance at the output. That's called output impedance. So ideally, output impedance is 0 and input impedance is infinite, right? So practically, output impedance will be very low value. Input impedance will be a very high value. Then you have something called slew rate. So slew rate, it is the maximum rate of change of output voltage in response to a step input voltage. So what do you mean by a step input voltage is if the voltage level is 0, okay, suddenly when it changes to 1, that is called a step input. So something like this. So step input, okay, a voltage level, it is negative in this case, negative. From here, it is going to certain positive value. So this looks like a step, right? So it's called a step input voltage. So if the input is a step voltage, the output value should change from minus Vmax to plus Vmax, but it will not be changing at that very particular instant. Okay, at that very instant, it will not change. It will take some time to shift from its lower peak to upper peak, from minus Vmax to plus Vmax. Minus Vmax is the maximum value in the negative, and plus Vmax is the maximum value in the positive. To change from its minus Vmax to plus Vmax, it will take some time, right? So that rate of change of the output voltage with respect to time is called slew rate. So it is measured with an op-amp connected as shown in this. A pulse or a step input is applied, then which will result in an output voltage, as you can see here. Okay, if you connect something like this, if you apply this particular thing, a step input at the input, the output will change from minus Vmax to plus Vmax, and it will take some time, delta Vt. Right? The change in the output voltage is delta V out. Change in time is delta T. The ratio of delta V out by delta T is the slew rate. Okay. So the width of the input pulse, it must be sufficient to allow the output to slew, means change from its lower limit to its upper limit. Okay. So the width should be at least this much. Otherwise, it cannot completely change from minus Vmax to plus Vmax. Right? So a certain time interval delta T is required for the output voltage to slew from its lower limit minus Vmax to upper limit plus Vmax once you apply a step input. So that is called, the rate by which it changes is called slew rate S, that is indicated as delta V out divided by delta T, where delta V out is Vmax minus of minus Vmax plus Vmax minus of minus Vmax. Okay. So the unit of slew rate is, unit of voltage is volts, and time it will be microseconds normally. Okay, so the time will be in microseconds. That's why unit of slew rate is volts per microseconds. Okay, it's volts per microseconds. And slew rate, since we say it is the maximum rate of change of output voltage, we also express it like this. Rate of change of output voltage is dV0 by dt, the maximum value of dV0 by dt. dV0 by dt is rate of change of output voltage with respect to time, right? So these are some of the parameters that we have in op-amps. So we will try to solve some numerical examples on this. So here we have the first one. A certain op-amp has an open loop voltage gain of 1 lakh, right? This is 1 lakh or 100,000, and a common mode gain of 0.2. You are asked to determine the CMRR and express it in decibels. So open loop voltage gain is AOL, it is given. Common mode gain is ACM, that is given. What is CMRR? It is common mode rejection ratio, right? So that is AOL divided by ACM. Open loop gain divided by common mode gain. What is the value? So first write the given things. Given AOL, that is open loop voltage gain, is 1 lakh. Common mode gain is 0.2, right? What is CMRR? CMRR is AOL divided by ACM. What is the value? AOL is 1 lakh, ACM is 0.2. What do you get? What is the answer? Someone calculate and tell me. What is the answer? 5 lakh. Yes, 500k or 5 lakh, right? So it's 5 lakh. 5 into 10 raised to 5. It's a large value. That's why we have said we express that in decibels. So in decibels, how to find that? It is 20 log of this thing. That will give the value in decibels. So in decibels, CMRR is 20 log of AOL by ACM dB. AOL by ACM we have found to be 5 lakh. You can use your calculator and find this value. 20 into log 5 lakh. What is log 5 lakh to the base 10? You get this, right? So calculate and tell me the answer. What do you get? 113.97. Yes, exactly. 113.979 something you get, maybe, right? So 113.98 you can approximate it. This is the way you express CMRR. You calculate CMRR and express it in decibels. Yes. Then there is another problem in the example. It is given a certain op-amp has an open loop differential gain of 1 lakh, and CMRR is given here. CMRR is 4 lakh. Determine the common mode gain and express CMRR in decibels. So here what is given is open loop gain is given 1 lakh and CMRR is given as 4 lakh. You are asked to find the common mode gain. What is the relation between CMRR and common mode gain and open loop gain? CMRR is AOL by ACM. So what is ACM? It is AOL by CMRR, right? If you just rearrange that, you get AOL by CMRR. Just substitute 1 lakh divided by 4 lakh. Calculate. What is the value? What is the value? 1 by 4, 0.25, right? So it's 0.25. That's the common mode gain. So what you observe in both of these is common mode gain is very, very small compared to open loop gain, right? Open loop gain is 1 lakh here. Common mode gain is 0.25. In the previous problem, open loop gain was 1 lakh. Common mode gain was 0.2, right? It was 0.2. So open loop gain is a very large value, ideally infinite. Common mode gain is very low value. Ideally, it should be 0, right? So now you are also asked to express this CMRR in decibels. CMRR is already given. Just find the value in decibels. Just find the log of that, multiply by 20. You get that in decibels. Given CMRR is 4 lakh. In decibels, just find the log and multiply by 20. 112.04. Yes, Dami says answer. It's right. 112.04 decibels. Right? So that's the value in decibels. Let's take another example. You're asked to determine the input bias current and input offset current. Input bias current and input offset current of an op-amp if the current into non-inverting and inverting terminals are 8.3 microamps and 7.9 microamps respectively. So you should first understand what is given. This is the current into non-inverting terminal, okay, and inverting terminal respectively. That means 8.3 microamps is current into non-inverting input terminal. Non-inverting input terminal we will represent as V2, right? So the current is I2, and for the inverting input terminal it is I1. So I1 is 7.9 microamps and I2 is 8.3. Okay, terminal 1 is inverting, terminal 2 is non-inverting. So I1 is 7.9 microamps and I2 is 8.3 microamps. You are asked to find input bias current and input offset current. What is input bias current? It is the average of the two input currents, right? It is the average of two input currents. So input bias current is average, that is I1 plus I2 divided by 2. Find the average, 7.9 plus 8.3 divided by 2. Yeah, 8.1, right? 8.1 microamps. Okay, 8.1 microamps. That is the input bias current. Then what is input offset current? It is the difference between the two inputs. The difference between the two input currents. So, and the absolute value of that. Okay, absolute value you can take I1 minus I2. Obviously, it's 0.2 damis. So 7.9 minus 8.3. It is 0.4. You take the modulus of that, it is 0.4 microamps, right? It is 0.4 microamps. Take the magnitude, do not consider the sign, only 0.4 microamps. That's the offset current. Ideally, it has to be equal, but practically there will be some difference between them. That is the offset current. Shall we move on to the next problem? Take next one. It is given for a particular op-amp, the input offset current is 20 nanoamps and input bias current is 60 nanoamps. You are asked to calculate the values of two input currents. The two input currents, they can also say it is two input bias currents. What are those two input bias currents or two input currents? That is I1 and I2. You have been given with offset current and input bias current, right? So offset current is IOS offset current, 20 nanoamps. Input bias current is I bias, that is 60 nanoamps. You need to find the values of I1 and I2. You know the equations for IOS and I bias. We know that IOS is I1 minus I2. The modulus of that anyway, it's I1 minus I2. And I bias is I1 plus I2 divided by 2. Right? Since these values are known, we can just write these equations in terms of I1 and I2 and solve those equations. You will get the values of I1 and I2. Can anyone find it? See, IOS is given as 20 nanoamps. That means I1 minus I2 is 20 nanoamps. Right? I1 minus I2 is 20 nanoamps. You take this as equation number 1. Then it is also given the bias current is 60 nanoamps. That is I1 plus I2 divided by 2 is 60 nanoamps. That means what is I1 plus I2? If you take 2 to the other side, I1 plus I2 will be 120 nanoamps. You take this as equation number 2, right? So you have two equations. I1 minus I2 is 20 nanoamps. I1 plus I2 is 120 nanoamps. So if you just solve them, add these two equations, what do you get? 2I1. You get 2I1, minus I2 plus I2 will get cancelled. 20 plus 120 will be 140. So 2I1 will be equal to 140 nanoamps, right? So 2I1 will be equal to 140 nanoamps. So what is the value of I1? I1 will be 140 divided by 2, that is 70 nanoamps, right? 140 divided by 2, that is 70 nanoamps. Then what is I2? You can substitute this I1 in any of these equations, either 1 or 2. I will substitute in 1. If I1 is 70, what is I2? I2 will be I1 minus 20 nanoamps, right? I2 will be I1 minus 20 nanoamps. So I2 will be I1 minus 20 nanoamps. I1 is 70 nanoamps. If I substitute, I2 will be 50 nanoamps, right? So it will satisfy both of them, right? So I1 plus I2, I1 minus I2 is 20. I1 plus I2 divided by 2. I1 plus I2 is 120 divided by 2 is 60. That is the bias current, and offset current will be 20 nanoamps. So this is the way you can find I1 and I2 if bias current and offset currents are given. Now, one more thing you have to remember here is I1 we have found as 70 nanoamps and I2 as 50 nanoamps, but it can be the other way also. Even if I1 is 50 nanoamps and I2 is 70 nanoamps, even then the offset current will be 20 nanoamps and the bias current will be 60 nanoamps, right? Because offset current is the difference between I1 and I2, absolute value. So even if this is 50 and this is 70, the absolute value, absolute difference is just 20 itself. And the average will still be 60, right? So since we have started with this particular equation, we have taken it as I1 minus I2. That's why we have got I1 as larger, I2 as smaller. But it is actually a modulus value. It could also be I2 minus I1. Then I2 would be larger and I1 would be smaller. Anyway, the two currents are 50 nanoamps and 70 nanoamps. That is the answer that is required. Right? We will take another problem. So this is based on the slew rate. It is given when a pulse is applied to an op-amp, the output voltage changes from minus 8 volts to plus 7 volts in 0.75 microseconds. You are asked what is the slew rate. So slew rate is rate of change of output voltage with respect to time. So, or you can say change in the voltage divided by change in the time, right? So what is the change in the voltage? It is plus Vmax minus of minus Vmax. So plus Vmax is positive value, that is plus 7, minus of minus 8, that is change in the voltage. Change in the time is 0.75 microseconds, right? So slew rate is delta V out by delta T. Delta V out is 7 minus of minus 8, 7 volt minus of minus 8 volts. Delta T is 0.75 microseconds. Just calculate. 7 minus of minus 8 is 7 plus 8. It is 15 divided by 0.75. What is 15 divided by 0.75? Someone calculate. 20, right? 15 divided by 0.75 is 20. Units is volts per microseconds. So as I said, for slew rate, the unit is volts per microsecond. This is in volts, denominator is in microseconds. So it is 20 volts per microseconds. Let us take another example on slew rate. So here it is asked, your slew rate is given and you are asked, how long does it take for the output voltage of an op-amp to go from minus 10 volts to plus 10 volts if the slew rate is 0.5 volts per microseconds. Okay, so you are given the output voltage changes from minus 10 to plus 10. The slew rate is 0.5. You are asked how long does it take. That means you are asked the time taken. That is delta T. Slew rate is given. Change in the output voltage is given. The change in the time has to be calculated. So we know the slew rate is delta V out by delta T. So what is delta T? Delta T is delta V out by slew rate. Delta V out is change in the output voltage. Plus 10 minus of minus 10, right? Divided by 0.5. Plus 10 minus of minus 10, it is 10 plus 10, 20 divided by 0.5. Here it is volts, here it is volts per microsecond. So the unit of time will be microseconds. So it is 40 microseconds, right? 20 divided by 0.5 is 40 microseconds. That's the time taken. Next, we will take another example that is also on slew rate. So here it is given an op-amp has a slew rate of 0.8 volts per microsecond. You are asked what is the maximum amplitude of undistorted sine wave that the op-amp can produce at a frequency of 40 kilohertz. Right. So you have been given with the slew rate, you have been given the frequency that is 40 kilohertz. You are asked the maximum amplitude. So you need some relation between the frequency, amplitude, and slew rate, which we have not seen till now. So maybe we have to derive that thing. Then there is another question in the same thing. What is the maximum frequency of the sine wave that op-amp can reproduce if the amplitude is 3 volts? So here amplitude is given, you are asked to find the frequency. right? So there are two parts in the question. First, slew rate is given, then a frequency is given, you are asked to find the amplitude. Then amplitude is given, you are asked to find the frequency. So we need some relation between the frequency, amplitude, and the slew rate. See, what is slew rate? Basically, we have said the slew rate is maximum rate of change of output voltage with respect to time. That is dV naught divided by dt, the maximum value of dV naught divided by dt. So V naught, it is a sinusoidal signal, right? So V naught, if you consider it as Vm sine omega t, if you consider V naught as Vm sine omega t, if you differentiate this, what do you get? If you differentiate this, you will get Vm into cos omega t into omega, right? With respect to t, if you are differentiating, it is Vm cos omega t into omega, right? That, so you can write it as omega Vm cos omega t. Now, what is the maximum value of this particular thing? What is the maximum value of this? The maximum value of this is omega into Vm, right? So the maximum value is omega into Vm. That means slew rate is equal to omega into Vm. Now, what is that omega? Omega is the angular frequency, right? Omega is angular frequency in radians per second. So omega is actually equal to 2 pi f, where f is the frequency in hertz, right? Omega is 2 pi f, where f is the frequency in hertz. So for undistorted output, see, slew rate's maximum value is this, right? So this particular thing should be lesser than whatever the slew rate. That is rate of change of output voltage with respect to time. It is the maximum value, so it should be lesser than or equal to the slew rate. Now this maximum value you have found to be omega times of Vm, right? Omega times of Vm, omega into Vm, that is lesser than or equal to slew rate. So omega, I said it is, so we know that it is 2 pi f. So 2 pi f into Vm is lesser than or equal to slew rate. So if I rearrange, you get the relation for f as f is lesser than or equal to slew rate divided by the other things, whatever you have, 2 pi and Vm, right? This will go to the denominator, slew rate divided by 2 pi Vm. Okay, so now what is the maximum value? This should be lesser than or equal to this thing. So what will be the maximum value of frequency then? Maximum value of frequency will be equal to slew rate divided by 2 pi Vm. Okay, so that is the f max. Maximum value of frequency will be slew rate divided by 2 pi Vm. So what will be the Vm? It is the maximum amplitude or the peak value of amplitude of output voltage, right? So Vm, if I rearrange the same thing, Vm will be slew rate divided by 2 pi f max. So these are the relations we need to solve this particular problem. So if you remember this thing, you can directly use them and solve the problem. No need of deriving. If you do not know, you have to derive it, get these relations and substitute so that you can get the answer, right? So we have been given with the slew rate, right? First you have been given with the slew rate, then you have been given with the frequency. You have to find the maximum amplitude. Maximum amplitude is Vm. You have to find that. So what is the relation? Vm is equal to slew rate divided by 2 pi f max. In the next case, you have been given with the amplitude, that is 3 volts. You are asked to find maximum frequency, that is f max. So you can use this equation. F max is slew rate divided by 2 pi into Vm. So first thing, it is given that slew rate is 0.8 volts per microseconds. Volts per microseconds, in terms of per second, it will be 0.8 into 10 raised to 6, right? So it is 0.8 volts divided by 10 raised to minus 6 seconds. If the 10 raised to minus 6 goes to the numerator, it will be 10 raised to 6. If I want to convert that to volts per second, right? It will be 0.8 into 10 raised to 6 volts per second. So it is given the frequency is 40 kilohertz. You are asked to find the maximum amplitude. For that, you can use this equation. Vm is slew rate divided by 2 pi into f max. Just substitute all the things that you know. Slew rate is 0.8 into 10 raised to 6. So you have to convert this to volts per second, okay? Otherwise, you won't get the proper answer. So 0.8 into 10 raised to 6 divided by 2 pi. F max is 40 into 10 raised to 6. 40 into 10 raised to 3. Calculate this thing. 3.183. Yes. So that's the maximum amplitude, right? Vm is peak value or maximum value of the output voltage. Vm, that is 3.183. In the next case, you have been given with Vm and you are asked to find Fmax. Vm is given as 3 volts. If Vm is 3 volts, what is Fmax? Fmax is slew rate divided by 2 pi into Vm. So slew rate is fixed 0.8 into 10 raised to 6 divided by 2 pi into Vm is 3. Just substitute. What do you get? Calculate. See, for 40 kilohertz, it is 3.183. If it is 3, it should be nearby value, near to 40. Okay, it should be near to 40 kilohertz only. What did you get? 42.44. Yes, right. 42.44 kilohertz. So you can cross verify the answer just by looking at it. Okay, you should not get something very different than 40. It should be near to 40 because for 40k you got VMS 3. So now if it is 3, it is nearby. It is near to 40. That is 42.44 kilohertz. Right? So, these are some numerical examples on the parameters of op-amps. We have seen examples on CMRR, common mode gain, differential gain, and the input currents, bias current, offset current, and the slew rate. Right? In the next class, we will see the operation of an op-amp as an inverting and non-inverting amplifier, and some applications of the op-amps. Right? So we will stop for today. Tomorrow we will continue with operation of an op-amp.